What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 5 of this amazing journey of our Build in Public series for Nurl Sanctum, our app that makes tabletop roleplay game design accessible, scalable, and collaborative for everyone. So we can just take the industry to the next level and give everyone the tools that other designers and other industries have had for decades. So super stoked. We're diving deeper today into our game system world, the foundation of all tabletop roleplay games. So if you're unfamiliar, there is a difference between a game and the actual system that that game uses. So you could think of it if you're a designer, the page, the website you're designing, the application you're designing, that's the game. The design system that you're using, the UI blocks, if you will, the buttons and colors and stuff, that's the game system. Tabletop roleplay games have that same thing. It's just a little more nerdy and mathematical and more scientific, if you will. So we're talking about game systems today. So within Sanctum, let's just dive right in. So I'm in my indie collective organization. This is a team of 3 different people. So if we go to settings and members, we can see that I am the owner. So that's going to give me certain permissions. We have an editor user. We're going to check them out shortly. And then we have a viewer, someone that could only view stuff. So this is great for like guests or whoever you may need. So this is important because as we dive deeper into game systems and repositories and the collaborative and open source aspect that we want to promote, all these different levels of permissions are going to be important. So let's go into our open source game repository where we have it's accessible to the public. So we have a canvas already in here, but notice that the canvas itself is private. That means only I, as the creator of that canvas, have access to this. So this is great because right out the gate, we see the permission levels that you can have an open source repository that holds multiple things, that you do restrict what people can see and have access to within that repository. So we're here to talk about the game system. So let me go into the create menu. I'm going to choose system. It's immediately going to create a private untitled game system for us. So this is what we're looking at today. This is for someone that wants to create a custom system. So you have 2 different types of games kind of in the realm. You have people that design custom systems, like Morkborg is its own custom system. Another early adopter within our group, John Baltusberger from Madness Heart Games, has created a system called the Badass system used in Overgrowth. This is a custom system. And then another early adopter of Super Savage Systems, I believe is the name. Forgive me, Brian, if that's incorrect. But Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. So super, it's more crunchy. It's not lightweight. So essentially ours, like if we wanted to do D&D level stuff, we're still going to be able to do that with Sanctum. But this uses its own system. It doesn't extend another. So that's what we're talking about today. In the future, we'll talk about games that extend systems, like Cyborg uses the Morkborg system. Another early adopter we have, Vastgrim, Corpborg, Future Chainsaw. So those will be future episodes. So today we have this new custom system. So let's dive into it. We can see that's private right out the gate. So only I have access to this, not my team. So let's change a few things. So we're going to go in here, and this is the layout that we're focusing on today. So not the contents, but essentially the layout. So what we see here is we have an easy way to go back to our repository. We know what the repository is. We know what org we're a part of. And we know that this is untitled. It's a draft, which is very important. We'll talk about that later. And it's automatically versioned 0.0.0 because this is the starting point of our systems. More so, we can see that in the future, we're going to have access to mechanics and component-based tooling. So blocks, you could think of them like components within your system, and dice, formulas, rules. We're all going to provide meta, low-level meta tabletop roleplay game features for this that you're just not going to get anywhere else, and especially not going to get in Google Docs or whatever notes app that you're having to use right now. So let's check out, also, we see right here, we have attention needed with the license. And I know you're at this point, if you're watching all these videos, you're like, oh my God, Casey, another episode with the licenses. Why? This is so boring. Because licenses are the dark horse of this entire application and the industry right now. So if you're a new designer, licenses are the first step that trip people up. They're legal. You don't want to cross any boundaries. Some licenses are very hard to understand, and they determine what you can and can't do if you want to extend a system. So, for example, Cyborg extends Morkborg, right? Morkborg has a license because it's a custom system that determines what Cyborg can do with the Morkborg system. So, in the big picture, we're going so hard on licenses because if you create a game system, it must be accompanied or should be accompanied by a license. We're immediately removing that barrier and simplifying the whole thing and bringing all of that stuff together. So that way, if you want to create your own system, by nature, you will be creating your license with that. And even better, Sanctum, the game system of Sanctum, this file, this will now serve as your official SRD. So you no longer need to create an SRD. I forget what it's called. It's essentially allowing you, telling you what you can and can't do with the license. Because we control all those mechanics, we're giving you the power to tell people what you can and can't do without needing to worry about developing an SRD documentation. So this is future episode. We'll be tying the license in, which will come into play if you want to extend a system. We're going to bundle it all together, make it beautiful and easy to understand. So this is very important. Whenever you're creating a game system, like, we immediately bring those two things together so you're legally covering your bases from the start and making it very easy to do so and maintain. So outside of that, let's talk about the settings. The last thing to talk about today, this is the one thing we do have hooked up outside of the general layout. So let's say we want to create our own license. I have overgrowth right here, so we're just going to call this badass system because it's badass. And I'm immediately going to make it available to everyone else in my organization. I'm going to save those settings, and we'll see that it's now updated. And then I'm not going to update draft yet, but essentially we have a status section. This is different from your general section. So visibility controls who has access to this file. So if if you want it to be open source, you're going to make it public. If you want it to be only accessible to your team or yourself, depends on the visibility. Status is different. Status is the progress of this file. So right now it's in draft mode. It's not ready for use. So we provide a little more context here because this is important once we get to forking and extending systems. No one, even if I make this public and everyone has access to this file, no one will be able to actually fork it because it's still in a draft mode. So until I mark this published, no one essentially can extend this. So we have multiple layers of kind of protections to control what you can and can't do, because you might, if this is an open source project, you want people to be able to see everything you're doing all the time, so that way they're up to date. But you don't want them to necessarily use something until you know it's ready. But likewise, let's talk about when you've moved on from a system. We have the ability to delete a game system. We don't necessarily want to promote that. That's why we provide archived or deprecated. This will allow you to essentially say, hey, I'm not touching this repository anymore, or I'm not touching this game system anymore. But you could still use it and extend it if you want to. Just know I'm done with it. And so we do provide those options, and status is the most important thing here, because this essentially controls whether you want people to be able to extend it or not. So visibility, once again, who can see it? Status, what you can do with it. So I've updated the visibility. The status is going to stay the same. So let's go. We see that it's now available to a workspace. So let's log out or sign out. Let me sign into my editor account. We're going to get our access code. We're going to jump in. Okay, now we're in our editor. I'm going to go to my indie organization. Notice, because I'm an editor, I'm not an admin, I don't have access to account settings and stuff. I do have access to the repository. And notice that I only have visual access to the system file, because that's the only one open to the workspace. So if I go in here, notice I don't have any settings or anything. I'm essentially an editor, a contributor, if you will. So very nice, very easy. And that's essentially it today. So I can't multitask on the weekend, but that's it for today. Thank you so much.